there's also characters that you can bring in that have audio logs that aren't, you know, Atlas, Tenenbaum, those are your big ones.
Трахнешь мою жопу?
You can bring in somebody to do a short, you know, a few different audio logs. It's a character that some players may not even find, but it adds a little bit of depth to Rapture.
And it also, like, usually characters, each character generally is about a certain idea, and they're not, we don't just sort of come up with characters like we have an idea problem that we need to solve, and so let's introduce a character who's this guy, and he will be the guy who sort of shepherds you through that idea.
Julie, my dear, I am trying to run a business here. You want to spend time with my honeybees? Well, I'm going to have to start charging you for the pleasure. If I come out one more time and find you lolling out there amongst my hives, I'm grabbing my shotgun. As to your question, yes, my days in beekeeping school are a blur. But I do seem to remember something about that enzyme you keep blabbing on about.
So as you're going through the game and, you know, writing things, rewriting things, were there things with the original BioShock that you've always been surprised that more people didn't pick up on, or was there something that, you know, a connection to a character you thought was really going to resonate with people which, you know, didn't? Anything like that?
No, it's the opposite. I was amazed, I don't know how you felt, but I was amazed how many people connected to the Would You Kindly stuff. Because I think it was a real, when I wrote that speech, I don't think anybody on the team was like, oh my God, this is like really this or that. And I don't think I really had any sense that people were going to connect to it. I think we ended up sort of over time finding more ways to support the notion throughout the game.
Yep.
And I don't think I really, until I heard Pat put together the revelation moment, you know, where it's like, you know, where you had all the bits that Atlas had said to you in the past building up, and then there was a visual that went along with that. That's when I realized it was going to be a really powerful moment. But even so, I still was, did I think people were really going to connect to it or really even understand it? Because it's pretty out there. And that it was meta commentary too. I think that completely, like, I think I thought like, oh, it's kind of meta, cool. But people connected to it in a much bigger way.
Yeah, the choice to engineer everything, and also just, you know, being able to kind of roll back and think of all those other moments throughout the game. And so, you know, a great revelation like that, they're few and far between in games where you sort of like, then you want to play it again, you're just like, oh wow, really, that does all make sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a team, we were definitely proud of what we had done. But up till that point, you know, SWAT 4 was the biggest game that we worked on, and we had no expectation of that anybody would pick this up. Or even like BioShock cosplay. I remember the first cosplay I saw with a guy in the Big Daddy suit, and his little daughter was in the kitchen cabinet. I think that was the first one I saw. I was like, what? Whoa, people know this stuff? That's insane.
Yeah, people were building these outfits, and yeah, and that only expanded with Infinite. I mean, that sort of went crazy with Infinite, with people cosplaying Elizabeth and Luteces and Booker. It meant a lot to people, and I don't think that's something we ever saw coming, and we're deeply grateful for it, because it's one thing to make a game and get good reviews and stuff like that. It's another thing to have things that people are having their weddings themed around it, and their tattoos and naming their children after characters. You can't plan for that, and I think the only way that could happen is if you just make something that's something that you're deeply in love with and passionate about. I can say we were. It was something there's a lot of passion on the team about, but we didn't know people were gonna take away what they did.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly? Powerful phrase. Familiar phrase.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Part of the challenge with that, though, is when people love fiction so much and they dive into, you know, every word written in every audio log and try and connect all the fiction, make sure it all makes sense. Are there any things from that game that you sort of look back and it's like, oh wow, like we didn't explain this and we should have, or things that fans have misinterpreted over the years?
There are things we think that we did that should have or shouldn't have been in the game. Like I was never a fan of having two endings, and I think
that's where the publisher was asking you to sort of have a.
That was the one thing that 2K, and they were very hands off. That was the one thing they insisted on, and it's not something I really thought was a good idea, because they're still limited, even though they're multiple. They're still limited, and so that was something that we ended up doing. One of the endings was far better than the other one. I mean, there's no. It's clear that I was much more interested in the happier ending with the little sisters than I was with the nuclear submarine ending.
I'm sure part of it was the idea that, you know, this game is, if you're making a choice throughout it, I'm sure when some people are like, oh well, then it has to be a payoff, right?
Right. Except the game was really about lack
There
of
wasn't a
choice.
choice. Yeah,
There
right,
not being
yeah.
a choice. So
Yeah.
that always struck me as a tension. That was weird, but look, at the end of the day, they were putting up a lot of money, and so I can't really complain. They weren't dictatorial at all during the development. So that was the one thing, but that's a game that I wouldn't have put the boss battle in, the final boss battle. Like we seem to end up doing that over and over and over again. Every time we start a project, I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. We're never going to do that again, and we end up doing it.
Right.
We're not good at boss battles, and that you're fighting that guy, and look, this is the naked dude. It just doesn't work.
Totally makes sense.
But and it works really pretty well up till then, but then it doesn't. It just doesn't work. That boss battle's silly.
Just come out! Better come out! It'll go easier for both of us!
Who's that? My part! Mine!
Kill me if I you! What? Nobody lays a hand on me!
I send you plagues! Come on then! Fight me properly!
We thought we could hide from the light down here. We were wrong.
Repent! Send you
Any leak is a bad one. Report any unexplained water promptly.
be...
Three too many. Rumor is the tool of the parasite. Fontaine is dead. We are growing. Many changes will be flowing. If you wanna see our faces, see the flowers we are raising. Andrew Ryan asks you a simple question. Are you a man or a slave?
I do what I'm told. I just do what I'm told.
Did you hear that Andrew Ryan took control of Fontaine?
Father, why have you forsaken me? I'm sorry, Father. I'll do what you say. I'll do what you say. Even miles of water. I can't see you, but he does. Dad? Here it is! He died for you. For you. Father, why have you forsaken me?
The children must remain functional to be effective producers of Atom. I had hoped to replace them into vegetative states so they would be more pliable. I find being around them very uncomfortable. Even with those things implanted in their bellies, they are still children. They play and sing. Sometimes they look at me and they don't stop. Sometimes they smile.
Jesus loves me, this I know. Thus saith the Lord.
No way, Jim. It's not safe. Haven't you heard? Atlas's bandits are everywhere.
Когда я побежал к дому, я посмотрел, смотрю, соседи горят. Думаю, это не шашлыком пахнет.